Hello everyone. Today I'm doing 8 more pen questions. This comes from Simone's server. Apparently she did 8 pen questions last year, and this year doing it again. So it's 8 more pen questions. Obviously I didn't participate in last year, so I'm doing this year. I'm gonna get, so I have my 8 pens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Most are from my Currently Inked, so you can go watch that video if you want to. And then I just added 2 more complimentary pens for March to do this challenge, so I could use a different pen for each question. So let's get started. So I just use one of these, what is this? Manuscript italic creative calligraphy pens in medium that I got in the freebie bag from Cult Pens at the London Pen Show. And I did terrible calligraphy. I just kind of freewheeled it without thinking. I was trying to go a bit more gothic, and then I just kind of went normal. But there you go. Doesn't matter, does it? So the first question, I'm going to use my lovely Benu, and this has the Jacques Herbin Metropolitan ink. Try not to say it in my stupid French accent anymore. Just lost the cap. Right, question 1. Do you have different uses for your pens? Yes. No, you want to take part, but you can't. Could you get out of the way, please? So do you have different uses for your pens? Yes, kind of. I've only recently started doing Currently Inked, where I have more than a couple of pens designated for a month. And essentially what I use a couple of pens for is taking to work to take my notes, journaling, and working on my fiction writing. So in the past, I would just kind of have my pens in my pen pouch or some other carrier, and just use whatever pen. But since I started doing Currently Inked and have a theme for the last few months, and sort of rotating my pens, so yeah, I guess I do. So some of my pens are more for work when I'm using them. Other pens I use for writing, and then I try to use a different pen for journaling or even for writing letters when I do that. Right, so I'm just gonna say yes. Some for work, some for journaling. Am I spelling that right? No. Journaling, writing. Minnie would also like to do the 8 pen challenge, but she doesn't have thumbs, so she can't use a pen. Writing and letters, etc. I've always said that I generally use my Kaweco as just like a when I have these in my pocket, because that's what they are, basically pocket pens for like signing for stuff, or just an emergency jotting something down. But I think I would like to start using them more. So maybe for my fiction writing or even journaling, that kind of stuff. I want to get more use out of them, essentially. So that is question 1. For question 2, I'm going to use my brand new pen, the Vizier Claro Spring, which has the Graf von Faber Deep Sea Green. I still can't remember. Oh, and it's Graf von Faber Castell? Is that it? I always forget the last bit. Anyway, doesn't matter. So how do you choose the inks and pens you will use next? So like I said before, because I've been doing currently inked for the last couple of months, I've been working on a theme basis, basically trying to match a color to the kind of holiday or season. So last month was February with Valentine's Day, so I did more red, pink, and purple pens. And this month is March, and we have St. Patrick's Day. So I'm doing more of my green and teal pens with a couple of others thrown in, but with similar inks. But also, how do you choose which pens you're going to use? So I tend to, like, the ones I take for work are the kind of, I don't know, I'd like to say the nicer pens, the more expensive, flashy pens. I generally like a fine nib, but some of the ones I'm using this month have other nibs. And then for other things like journaling or, I don't know, special projects, or if I'm going to make a video, I need to write something, I might go for this. I might go for this TWSBI because it has a 1.1 stub in it. And then for, say, fiction writing, I might use this because it has a medium nib, so I still find that good to work with for that. So it really depends what the need is, what nib I've got in it, what color ink I've got in it, yeah, and what's going on that month, like what I've picked for the month to use. So for question 3, I'm actually going to go for the TWSBI, which has the 1.1 stub, and this one has the Dominant Industry Savorite. I finally pronounced it correctly, I think, which I struggled with a lot in the last video for some reason. And the question was, which pen do you prefer for longer writing sessions? I didn't actually write the answer down to number 2, but it was a little bit all over the place. So for question 3, maybe not so much a particular pen. I do prefer a fine nib for longer sessions and a darker ink, so nothing too light. Doesn't have to be black or blue, but, you know, a nice purple, a nice green, a nice red, something easier on my eyes at least to read. And obviously that is comfortable to use. So something like my Laban, which fits nicely in my hand and has a nice section to grip and a good size nib to work with. And yeah, isn't too heavy, isn't too light. Something like this I have written very long, done long sessions with. But I equally like my Ferris wheel press marquee. It's also very comfortable, like the way it rolls in the hand, and it just feels really nice. And it's one of those pens that you just enjoy looking at while you're writing with it. It just looks really cool, I think, personally. But you know, my SD is very good, and a lot of people I think would agree. But it's similar style pen with equal weight and feel. And generally, I think most of my pens are pretty good. This one is really nice for writing with. My Bennu is really nice for writing with. You can't beat a Lamy All-Star. They're great for writing with. This Lamy Studio has really nice smoothness to it. And yeah, it just feels nice to hold. And my Pelican M200, again, nice smoothness to it. Yeah, so I feel like most of my pens are probably really good for working with in doing long sessions, whether it's journaling or working on my fiction or writing a letter. So yeah, I think only the smaller ones like the Kaweco, the Kakuno's okay, the Perkio's okay, like the TWSBI's okay. The only problem with the TWSBI is I feel compelled to write a certain way with the stub nib. So if it had a fine nib, maybe. But yeah, I think most of my pens are good. So I think, yeah, generally most of my pens. And for question 4, I'm going to go with this Kaweco Sport, which is cyan. And this has the Kaweco Paradise Blue in it, which is a turquoise, you'll see in a second. And question 4 is, what is your all-time favorite pen? And this one I've been thinking about a lot, watching other people's videos. And I still struggle with it because I have a few favorites amongst my pens, but as I was just saying, they're all pretty good for writing with. Even though I would say the sports maybe not so much for long sessions, but generally they're all really good pens. They're all great writers. None of them have bad nibs. The only difference is the nib sizes I have on a few of them. So I feel like the 1.1 stub makes me write a bit slower, but that's it really. So I'm only gonna say the Laban 325. The cat's going nuts tonight, so I have to keep stopping and dealing with her. So I'm only gonna say the Laban 325. Not because I don't like other pens, but because it's my first pen. It's a great pen. I love to use it for long sessions. And literally, if I had to give away or lost all my other pens, if I still had this pen, I think I'd be fine. Yeah, it's pretty. It's a great writer. You know, it's not too terribly expensive. Yeah, and I love it. So that's what I'm gonna say. My Laban 325. So question 5. If you have to choose one nib size, what would it be? This is really easy for me. So I'm just gonna write the question first. And I forgot to say I'm using the Kakuno, Pilot Kakuno Madarami in the light blue with the Pilot Irashizuku Tsukio ink cartridge. Fine. Yes, the answer is fine. It's always fine. That will never change, I think. I mean, like I said, I've said in other videos, I've never had a grind or anything, so maybe if I get a special grind, I will like that better. But for me, it's always fine. From the moment I got my Laban till now, I quite easily, happily just use the fine forever. I do like calligraphy nibs to be able to do more lettering with or whatever, but in terms of writing, just any kind of writing, having to write a letter, having to write notes, having to journal, doing things like this, the fine. The fine, the fine, the fine. Number 6, what is your favorite nib grind? So for this, I'm going to use my Lamy Studio, and this has a fine nib on it, and this has Ferris Wheel Press Gale Force Green, and I didn't use it in the currently inked, and I can't remember why. There was a reason, but yeah, whatever. So number 6, what is your favorite nib grind? And the answer to that is none, because I've never had a grind. So, you know, maybe in the future I'll get a grind and then I can answer that question. And then next, number 7, if you could only use one ink for the rest of your life, what would it be? So for this one, I'm going to use my Kavetco Sport in Frosted Blueberry, which has the Unknown teal ink and a double broad nib. And this one I also was kind of unsure about because I have a few different inks I really, really like. Red Dragon from Diamine, Tatcha, Murasaki, which is purple, and the Raspberry Rose from Diamine. I really like those a lot. Oh, and of course, we cannot forget the thing I love to use my accent for, the Jacquemin Metropolitain, which is a lovely dark green ink. But if I really, really could only have one ink for the rest of my life, and if I'm gonna have my one pen for the rest of my life, it has to be Diamine Mombado's Hat, which is a lovely deep plummy purple. So it's different from the Tatcha. Tatcha, I would say, is like, I don't know, royal purple, and Mombado's Hat is just something different to that. It's a lovely, really gorgeous dark ink, and I had it in my Laban for months, and they just went together until I did Currently Ink February, and I changed the ink in this, and I totally regretted it. So that will go back eventually, but yeah, this is my favorite ink of all time. So yeah, if that was the only ink I could ever use, it would be Diamond. Bombato's hat. Oh, this teal is really nice. I have to find out what it was. And lastly, what is an absolute deal breaker for you for pen for ink? So I'm using the Lamy All-Star in tourmaline, and this has the Alchemy Mystic Forest in it, which is a nice dark green. So I think a thing I discovered early, was I don't like vac fillers, and not because I can't fill the pen, but because I struggled to then use it after a certain point. I just couldn't get the hang of it, and it was so much faff to clean, even more faff than a normal pen. Yeah, I just decided vac fillers are not for me. I'm totally fine with piston fillers. I'm totally fine with converters. Yeah, vac fillers are not for me. And ink. I think anything too light that you would struggle to read if it wasn't in a very big nib to make big letters with. Yeah, that you couldn't write more than a couple sentences with. I struggle with that. I don't like it. Trying to think anything else. Too dry an ink I'm not a fan of. And with pens, I guess with nibs, it would be a scratchy nib. Nobody wants a scratchy nib. So let's say pens, vac filler, and scratchy nib. But a scratchy nib can be fixed. A vac filler can't be fixed. It is what it is. Ink, let's say too light and dry. Trying to think if there's anything else about a pen I wouldn't like. I'm okay with sports. I'm okay with big fat pens. I'm okay with in between skinny pens. I would say boring pens. I mean, this is controversial because what does that mean to some people? Might mean different things. For me, it's kind of classic, traditional looking pens. Just, yeah, sorry if this is your favorite type of pen, but you know, just black pens. Not a fan of. You know, I don't care if it's a Mont Blanc, it's a black pen. It's not interesting to me. I really go for a pen that has something in its aesthetic that really calls to me, and simple doesn't really do it for me. I would say this Studio is probably the simplest pen I have, but you know, it's still got this great little paddle clip, which is a great design element, and the body is still interesting in a way, because it's not just straight. It's kind of it's tapered at the ends, bulges in the middle. Even these All-Stars, you know, they're kind of classic Lamy design. Yeah, so I mean, I don't feel like I have any boring pens. So yeah, that to me is boring. Just kind of black cigar shapes, but not cigar shapes in themselves, but yeah. I hope that makes sense. So I hope I haven't offended anyone too much. Oh, and there's a bonus question. What is one pen everyone should have? That's a difficult one. I could say my Le Bon 325 is a good pen for everyone to have. I think an SD is a good pen for everyone to have. There's, you know, again, it's difficult, and it's kind of subjective. Kakuno is a good pen to have. The Lamy Studio is a good pen to have. Twisby is a good pen to have. A Sport is a good pen to have. Yeah. So that's all I gotta say about that. I'll put some information in the description about this challenge, hashtag. You can participate in it if you want, with the 8 More Pen Questions 2025 hashtag. Please do check out Simone's channel. She is the originator of the challenge, and the questions came from her Discord. We all participated in suggesting questions and then voting on the questions. That was a lot of fun, and there were a lot of great questions, but obviously there could be only 8. And Simone also does have a playlist for everyone, so you can see who else has participated in the 8 More Pen Questions. So this was fun to do. I feel like I was a little bit unsure of myself, or a little all over the place. I had thought about these questions a lot, but some of them I still struggling to answer properly. But yeah, I mean, so thank you very much for joining me. Please do go watch the other videos in this challenge, in this hashtag, and I will see you again. Bye.